So one thing that's really different about this COP as compared to other ones is that whilst it's being physically hosted in Bonn, the Secretariat is actually in Fiji, which, as a low-lying Pacific island, is one of the first places that will be impacted by climate change's most immediate effects. So whilst this is definitely a really good step forward, we still rarely hear or see Indigenous demands being centred in global negotiations. And we often see this being reproduced in our own movements. So, for example, in 2015 in the UK Climate March, we actually saw Indigenous activists being forcibly removed from their rightful place at the front lines of the march by the march's own organisers. However, the politics of climate change is intimately tied to the politics of land and therefore to the politics of Indigenous rights. So questions of who owns the land and how do we conceive of its relationship to humanity. Whilst Indigenous people have historically been on the front lines of climate crisis, they've also been on the front lines of climate action, resisting extractivist projects for decades now. It's time that we heeded their calls and challenged the system from sites where we have power. We met up with the Indigenous Environmental Network to bring you 5 demands from the Indigenous front lines.
Challenge the Paris Agreement. 2 years ago in Paris, the nations of the world gathered for the Paris Agreement. Many people celebrated that, but a lot of Indigenous peoples saw it as a crime against humanity, as a crime against nature, because it didn't go far enough to properly address the climate chaos that we're seeing across the globe. And for those communities on the front line of climate change, we have to do better.
Keep fossil fuels in the ground. Climate scientists have stated the most direct way to reduce global temperature rise is to keep fossil fuels in the ground, which means stopping fossil fuels at the source of extraction.
Working towards a just transition. That's more than just green jobs. It's about decolonization. Decolonization of our minds, our bodies, our communities, and our spirits.
Challenge the Governor of California, Jerry Brown, and his climate policies. The state of California is trying to position itself on a global scale as a leader in the fight against climate change. But one of the major policies that it's trying to promote is the false solutions of carbon markets, carbon trading, and carbon offsets. Really, what all it means is that we're going to allow companies, oil and gas companies, to continue to pollute one community by saying that they're saving some trees elsewhere. It's a false solution. We're being bamboozled, and we cannot buy into this anymore. We have to stand up and come up with some real solutions to climate change.
Reject false solutions. We cannot rely on a market-based economy for the way forward. We're going back to the heart of our communities, our people, decolonizing and moving away from a fossil fuel-based economy.